Have you ever noticed how the most respected people rarely tell you how great they are? This isn't an accident. It's a 500-year-old power strategy. In the shadows of Renaissance politics, Niccolò Machiavelli discovered something that modern influencers and business leaders are still getting wrong. The moment you praise yourself, you've already lost the game of influence. Think about it. When someone tells you they're smart, do you believe them? Or when they insist they're trustworthy? Probably not. But when someone else praises them, especially without being prompted, you instantly assign it more value. Machiavelli understood that reputation is the ultimate currency, but with one critical rule: it must be minted by others, never by yourself. The words of third parties carry weight that your own words never will. This isn't just ancient wisdom, it's psychological leverage that's being used against you every day, and that you could be using to transform how others perceive your value. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal exactly how to create situations where others naturally champion your abilities, why traditional self-promotion is actively harming your reputation, and the hidden framework for becoming the person everyone recommends when opportunity strikes. What Machiavelli knew, and what I'm about to show you, isn't just another social hack. It's the fundamental difference between those who struggle for recognition and those who seem to effortlessly command respect in every room they enter. Number 1. The echo chamber strategy. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who couldn't stop talking about their achievements? How did that make you feel? Probably annoyed, skeptical, or even embarrassed for them. That's because humans have a built-in detector for self-promotion that triggers instant suspicion. Think of the last time you were truly impressed by someone. I bet it wasn't when they were listing their accomplishments. It was more likely when you discovered something remarkable about them through someone else or by witnessing their skills firsthand. This is no coincidence. Our brains are wired to value information we discover ourselves, far more than information that's pushed on us. Information we discover feels like our own insight, our own special knowledge, while information we're told feels like someone else's agenda. What if you could harness this psychological principle to build your reputation without ever having to brag? What if others would eagerly promote your abilities without you having to say a word? This brings us to strategy number 1 of 5, the echo chamber strategy. Instead of telling people about your accomplishments, create situations where they discover your value through carefully placed evidence trails. The key is positioning your work where the right people will encounter it naturally, then letting them connect the dots themselves. Here's how it works. Rather than announcing your skills, demonstrate them in places where they'll be noticed. If you're good at solving problems, solve them publicly. If you have specialized knowledge, share it in forums where experts gather. If you've achieved impressive results, make the evidence accessible, but let others be the ones to point it out. When someone discovers your value on their own, something magical happens. They become invested in promoting you because it reflects their own insight and judgment. By spotting your talent, they get to feel smart. And when they tell others about you, they're not just promoting you, they're showcasing their own perceptiveness. Take Sarah, a marketing strategist who never mentioned her past successes in meetings. Instead, she created a simple case study document and stored it in the shared company drive with an understated title. When colleagues stumbled upon it while researching related topics, they were amazed by her previous results. Soon, they were the ones bringing up her expertise in meetings, giving her more credibility than she could have ever built by promoting herself. The echo chamber strategy works because it transforms how information about you travels. Information that spreads through discovery has exponentially more impact than self-promotion. It creates genuine advocates who champion your abilities without prompting. To implement this yourself, start by identifying what you want to be known for. Then create evidence trails that demonstrate, don't declare, your capabilities. Place these breadcrumbs where the right people will naturally find them. Patient positioning beats aggressive promotion every time. Remember, Machiavelli knew that power is perceived, and perception is always stronger when others discover it themselves. Your reputation isn't what you claim it to be. It's what others discover and choose to repeat about you when you're not in the room. Number 2, the credibility transfer protocol. You've probably noticed that some people seem to gain respect and trust almost instantly in new environments. Meanwhile, others struggle for years to build the same level of credibility. What's the difference between these two groups? It's rarely about their actual abilities. More often, it's about who vouches for them. Think about it. If a trusted friend recommends a doctor, you immediately feel more comfortable with that doctor than one you found through a random online search. That initial trust comes from someone else's endorsement, not from the doctor's credentials. This phenomenon happens in every area of life, from business to social circles. We instinctively assign value to people based on who endorses them. But most people leave this powerful force entirely to chance, hoping someone influential might notice them someday. What if there was a systematic way to make this work in your favor? A method that doesn't rely on luck or timing? This brings us to strategy number 2 of 5, the credibility transfer protocol. The credibility transfer protocol is about strategically identifying individuals who already have established credibility with your target audience and engineering opportunities to solve their problems visibly. When someone with existing authority acknowledges your contribution, their credibility transfers to you through what psychologists call the authority halo effect. This borrowed credibility is stronger than anything you could build independently in the same time frame. Here's why. People's trust operates like a network. When someone they already trust endorses you, that trust flows to you automatically, bypassing the usual scrutiny. Let me show you how this works in practice. Mark was a new consultant trying to break into a competitive industry. Rather than cold calling potential clients, he identified 3 respected figures in his field and offered to help solve specific problems they had mentioned publicly, for free. When these industry leaders shared their positive experiences working with Mark, potential clients started reaching out to him. Within months, Mark had a wait list of clients, all because he borrowed credibility rather than trying to build it from scratch. The key to making this strategy work is being selective about whose problems you solve. Not all endorsements carry equal weight. Focus on individuals who have influence with your specific target audience. One word of praise from the right person can outweigh testimonials from dozens of unknown sources. Also, make sure your contribution is genuinely valuable and visible. Solving someone's problem privately won't activate the credibility transfer protocol. The solution needs to be significant enough that the influencer naturally wants to acknowledge your help publicly. This strategy accelerates trust building because it leverages existing networks of credibility instead of creating new ones. It's like getting a shortcut through the usual vetting process that people go through when deciding whether to trust someone new. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't require you to be manipulative or insincere. You're genuinely helping people solve real problems. The strategic element is simply in choosing whose problems you solve and ensuring the solutions are visible to your target audience. Remember, Machiavelli understood that reputation spreads through trusted networks. By positioning yourself to receive public acknowledgement from those who already command respect, you inherit a portion of their credibility, creating a foundation of trust that would take years to build on your own. Number 3, the strategic vulnerability pivot. Have you ever noticed how some people can admit to mistakes or shortcomings and somehow come across as more trustworthy rather than less? Meanwhile, others seem desperate to appear perfect, yet we trust them less because of it. This seemingly contradictory pattern reveals something fascinating about human psychology. We don't trust perfection. We trust authenticity. When someone admits to a flaw, our suspicion meters actually decrease rather than increase. Most people get this entirely backward. They hide their weaknesses, creating a flawless facade they think will impress others. But this approach triggers our natural skepticism. We know nobody's perfect, so when someone presents themselves as such, our mental alarm bells start ringing. What if there was a counterintuitive way to use this psychological insight to strengthen rather than weaken your reputation? This brings us to strategy number 3 of 5, the strategic vulnerability pivot. The strategic vulnerability pivot involves acknowledging a minor weakness or limitation openly before others can discover it. This creates the impression of radical honesty, making everything positive others discover about you afterward seem more authentic and earned. This controlled vulnerability functions as a strategic asset that makes third-party praise more believable and powerful. Here's why it works. When you voluntarily disclose a limitation, you demonstrate confidence and self-awareness. This signals that you're secure enough in your value that you don't need to hide imperfections. Consider how David, a speaker at industry conferences, always begins his presentations by briefly mentioning that he's not the most technical person in the room. He acknowledges that some others might know more about the coding aspects of the topic. This small admission does something powerful. It disarms the audience's natural skepticism and establishes him as honest and self-aware. When David then demonstrates genuine expertise in his actual areas of strength, the audience values it more. His knowledge feels earned rather than exaggerated, and when others later praise his insights, that praise carries extra weight because he's already proven he's not trying to oversell himself. The key to executing this strategy effectively is selecting the right vulnerability to disclose. It should be minor enough not to undermine your core value, yet significant enough to demonstrate authentic self-awareness. The weakness you acknowledge should ideally be one that's adjacent to but not central to your primary area of expertise. Timing also matters. Introduce your strategic vulnerability early in professional relationships before others form complete judgments about you. This establishes a foundation of perceived honesty upon which others will interpret everything else they learn about you. What makes these strategic vulnerability pivots so powerful is that it transforms how others process information about you. Without this foundation, accomplishments you claim might be met with skepticism. With it, even your most impressive achievements feel authentic rather than exaggerated. This approach also creates space for others to defend your capabilities. When you acknowledge a limitation, people often feel compelled to highlight your strengths in response, putting them in the position of advocating for you rather than you advocating for yourself. Remember, Machiavelli recognized that appearing authentic matters more than appearing perfect. By strategically acknowledging a controlled weakness, you create the conditions for others to genuinely champion your strengths, building a reputation based on perceived honesty rather than perceived perfection. Number 4. The invisible scaffold method. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to attract passionate advocates everywhere they go? People who enthusiastically promote their abilities without being asked? It's rarely a coincidence. Often, these individuals have mastered something most of us miss, the art of creating success for others while remaining quietly essential to that success. Think about the most respected figures in any field. You'll notice they often share a counterintuitive quality. They spotlight others more than themselves. Yet somehow their own reputation grows stronger through this process rather than diminishing. Most people approach reputation building as a solo endeavor, focusing on highlighting their own achievements. But what if the fastest path to a powerful reputation was actually through elevating others first? This brings us to strategy number 4 of 5, the invisible scaffold method. The invisible scaffold method involves building systems and structures that showcase others while subtly positioning yourself as the architect behind their success. By helping others shine authentically, you create a network of people who feel genuinely indebted and who will advocate for you organically. Your reputation becomes built on facilitating excellence rather than claiming it. This approach works because it triggers the powerful psychological principle of reciprocity. When you help someone achieve recognition, they naturally want to return the favor, often by praising your role in their success. Take Michael, who founded a professional group that regularly featured different members as speakers and experts. He created a structure where others could showcase their knowledge while he remained the connective tissue, introducing speakers, asking insightful questions, and highlighting their expertise. Over time, those he had featured became his strongest advocates. When opportunities arose, they recommended Michael not because he had asked them to, but because they genuinely appreciated how he had elevated them. His reputation grew exponentially through their word-of-mouth promotion. To implement the invisible scaffold method effectively, start by identifying opportunities to create platforms that benefit others. This could be as simple as organizing knowledge-sharing sessions where colleagues can demonstrate their expertise, or as complex as building communities where diverse talents are regularly showcased. The key is to position yourself not as the star, but as the essential framework that makes everything possible. You want to be the person who connects, facilitates, and amplifies, creating value through orchestration rather than solo performance. Be strategic about who you elevate. Focus on individuals with complementary skills who interact with your target audience. Their success becomes intertwined with your system, creating natural incentives for them to acknowledge your contribution. What makes this strategy particularly effective is that it scales. While you can only talk about yourself to a limited number of people before appearing self-centered, there's virtually no limit to how many others you can help promote. Each person you elevate becomes a potential advocate, creating a multiplier effect for your reputation. This approach also positions you as a leader rather than just a performer. By creating structures that benefit others, you demonstrate capabilities beyond individual contribution. You show that you can architect success on a broader scale. Remember, Machiavelli understood that power comes from being essential to others' success, not just successful yourself. By building invisible scaffolds that elevate others while highlighting your organizational value, you create an army of authentic advocates who champion your reputation because your success has become intertwined with their own. Number 5. The attribution reversal technique. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to gain more recognition the less they claim credit? There's something paradoxical about it. The more they deflect praise to others, the more firmly their reputation for excellence seems to establish itself. This phenomenon confuses most people. The natural instinct when receiving recognition is to accept it graciously or even amplify it. After all, isn't positive acknowledgement exactly what we're seeking when building our reputation? But there's a psychological principle at work here that turns conventional wisdom on its head. When we immediately accept praise, we close the loop of recognition. But when we redirect praise to others, we create a social imbalance that others feel compelled to correct, often by insisting on our contribution even more strongly than before. What if you could harness this counterintuitive dynamic to strengthen how others perceive and promote your value? This brings us to strategy number 5 of 5, the attribution reversal technique. The attribution reversal technique involves immediately redirecting and amplifying recognition to others who contributed, even in small ways, whenever you receive direct praise. This counterintuitive move demonstrates security and leadership while creating a psychological debt that compels others to correct the record by emphasizing your contributions even more forcefully than if you had accepted the praise initially. Here's how it works in practice. When someone compliments your work on a project, immediately highlight the contributions of team members, mentors, or even those who made minor contributions. Be specific about how others helped make the success possible. Jennifer, a marketing director, mastered this approach. When her campaign received praise from the CEO during a company meeting, she immediately redirected the recognition. That success was really driven by Alex's data analysis and Sarah's creative direction. I just helped coordinate their brilliant work. What happened next demonstrates why this technique is so powerful. Both the CEO and Jennifer's colleagues jumped in to emphasize that while the team was indeed talented, it was Jennifer's leadership that made everything come together. Her contribution wasn't just acknowledged, it was actively defended and amplified by others. The attribution reversal technique works because it triggers several psychological mechanisms simultaneously. First, it displays a level of security and leadership that people instinctively respect. Second, it creates a social imbalance. Others know the truth of your contribution and feel compelled to restore proper credit. Third, it positions you as someone who elevates others rather than competes with them. To implement this effectively, your redirections must be genuine and specific. Don't vaguely mention the team. Name individuals and their exact contributions. This specificity demonstrates that you are paying attention and truly value others' work, which makes your redirection feel authentic rather than performative. Timing is also crucial. Deploy this technique immediately upon receiving praise, before anyone else has a chance to add their perspective. This creates maximum impact and ensures the redirection feels natural rather than calculated. What makes the attribution reversal technique particularly powerful is that it transforms how praise travels through your professional network. When you accept praise, it stops with you. When you redirect it, you create a conversation about your contribution that continues even in your absence. Remember, Machiavelli recognized that reputation is strengthened most when others defend it in your absence. By strategically redirecting praise to others, you create social dynamics that lead people to champion your contributions more powerfully than any self-promotion ever could. As we've explored these 5 Machiavellian strategies, we've uncovered a fundamental truth about human influence. Your reputation is never what you claim it to be. It's what others choose to say about you when you aren't in the room. From the echo chamber strategy that lets others discover your value on their own terms, to the credibility transfer protocol that borrows authority from established figures, to the strategic vulnerability pivot that makes your strengths more believable, to the invisible scaffold method that turns those you help into advocates, to the attribution reversal technique that compels others to defend your contributions. Each approach leverages the same core principle. Third-party validation is the only validation that truly matters. Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago what modern psychology continues to confirm, that reputation built on others' words carries a power that self-promotion never can. By implementing these strategies, you're not just building a stronger reputation. You're creating the conditions for that reputation to grow organically without your constant maintenance. The ultimate mastery of influence isn't about claiming your excellence. It's about creating circumstances where others cannot help but recognize and champion it for you.